Have you ever walked away from a situation thinking you were safe, only to realize years later that you were the only one who escaped? It's been 15 years, and I still can't sleep in a room without checking the window latches 3 times. My therapist calls it hypervigilance. I call it the cost of survival. People think predators look like monsters. They don't. They look like the people you're supposed to trust. They wear uniforms. They have firm handshakes. They have keys to all the doors you can't open. I was 16. My father, a man who believed emotion was a defect and softness was a sin, decided it was time for another character-building excursion. He despised the suburbs. He hated the air conditioning, the internet, the safety. He wanted the woods. He wanted struggle. Usually, I suffered these trips alone, dragging firewood through the mud while he lectured me on self-reliance. But that year, I had leverage. I had good grades. So, I negotiated a treaty. I would go, but Ben could come with us. Ben was everything my dad wasn't. He was wiry, anxious, and asthmatic. We were inseparable. Ben had a fake ID and a tin box of cheap pre-rolled joints he'd stolen from his older brother. That tin box is the reason I'm alive. It's also the reason Ben isn't. The destination was Echo Lake State Park. It was a massive, sprawling government land grant. We arrived late on a Friday. The sun was already bleeding out behind the tree line, casting long, bruised shadows across the gravel lot. The first thing that felt wrong was the silence. Not the natural quiet of the woods. This was a dead silence. No crickets, no birds. Just the low electrical hum of the high-tension wires cutting through the canopy, like scars. We checked in at the ranger station. The man behind the desk was Ranger Vance. Vance was imposing, clean-shaven, military posture. He didn't smile. He was efficient. He looked at my dad with that nod, the secret handshake of hard men acknowledging each other. "North Quadrant is closed for renovation," Vance said. "Heavy machinery, unstable ground. Keep the boys in the south loop. We've had some issues with transients lately. Don't want any trouble." "We can handle trouble," my dad said. Vance's eyes flickered to me, then to Ben. His gaze lingered on Ben. It felt like he was weighing him. "I'm sure you can, sir. Just stay within the markers, for your own safety." Ben and I waited. We lay in our tent, listening to the rhythm of my father's snoring. Ben tapped my arm. "Let's walk," he whispered. We slipped out. The night air was unnaturally cold. The moon was obscured by thick cloud cover, leaving the woods in a suffocating gray darkness. We reached the perimeter fence after 20 minutes. It was 8-foot chain link, topped with razor wire. Fresh razor wire. The silver barbs caught the ambient light, gleaming like teeth. "Renovations?" Ben whispered. "Since when do they use prison fencing for a hiking trail?" The atmosphere shifted instantly. The air here smelled different. Sweet. Sickly sweet. Like antiseptic masking rotting meat. About 200 yards ahead, past the skeletal remains of a roller coaster, there was a large, corrugated metal maintenance warehouse. Floodlights were blazing, cutting cones of white brilliance into the dark. And there were vehicles. Not construction trucks. Black SUVs. Unmarked. Ben grabbed my jacket. "Sam, look." He pointed to the ground. There was a line of people, 5 of them, handcuffed, linked together by a chain. They weren't dressed like campers. They were being processed. A man in a white Tyvek suit was spraying them down with a hose. The water hit them hard, but they didn't scream. It was Ranger Vance. He looked calm, professional. He was doing a job. He gestured to the warehouse door, and 2 other men, huge tactical gear, stepped out and began shoving the chained line inside. "They're taking them inside," Ben whispered. "Sam, that's not a jail." We turned to run. That's when I kicked the bottle. It clinked against a metal pipe. In that dead silence, it was a gunshot. We bolted. We tore through the brush, branches whipping our faces. I could hear the engine of a vehicle roaring to life behind us, tires spinning on gravel. "Faster!" I screamed at Ben. He was wheezing. We hit the fence. I dove into the washout, clawing my way through the mud. I popped out and turned back to pull Ben through. His hand reached out. I grabbed his wrist. His skin was clammy. Then he was yanked backward. 1 second, I had him. The next, he was gone. I heard a grunt, a thud, and then the sound of a boot hitting ribs. Ben screamed, a high, thin sound that was cut off abruptly. "Ben!" I screamed. "Stay right there, son," a voice boomed. It wasn't Vance. He had a weapon trained on me. "Don't move." I didn't think. I ran. I abandoned him. I ran all the way back, crying, lungs burning. I burst into our tent and shook my dad awake. "The Ranger! Vance! He has people in the warehouse! They took Ben!" My dad dragged me out by my collar. He slapped me hard. "Stop it! You're hallucinating!" Before I could answer, a truck pulled up. Ranger Vance stepped out. Immaculate. Calm. He held Ben's backpack. "Mr. T," Vance said, "I found your boys in the restricted zone. We found this tin on him. He was having a severe reaction, delirious, paranoid. We had to restrain him for his own safety." My dad looked at Vance, the figure of authority. "I'm so sorry, Ranger," my dad said. He sounded ashamed. "Dad, please," I begged. "He's hurting him." "Shut up, Sam," my dad hissed. Vance nodded at me. His eyes were dead. "An ambulance is en route to take him to County General. You should take this one home." Vance turned to leave. As he opened his truck door, he looked at me one last time. He tapped his index finger against his lips. 2 days later, Ben's parents called. They hadn't heard from him. The police called. I told them everything. The warehouse, the chains, the suits. They brought me in as a suspect. They had a report from Ranger Vance. It said Ben had run off into the deep woods in a drug-induced panic. They searched for weeks. They found nothing. Eventually, I stopped talking. The local police knew Vance. They drank with him. They trusted the uniform. Ben was listed as a runaway. 6 months ago, I went back. I'm 31 now. The North Quadrant is now a luxury glamping retreat owned by a private holding company. High fences, security cameras. I found a photo online. Someone had posted photos of the maintenance tunnels before they were sealed with concrete. One photo stopped my heart. Scratched into the concrete, Low, near the floor, were 2 letters. B.H. Ben Halloway. He was alive down there, maybe for days. While my dad drove me home, while the police took statements from the man who locked him in, I didn't escape a monster in the woods. I was let go. I was the witness who was too discredited to matter. Every time I see a uniform, I feel the cold, wet mud on my hands and the phantom grip of my best friend's fingers slipping away before the darkness swallowed him whole.
Have you ever trusted a uniform simply because it was familiar, only to realize too late that the person wearing it was hunting you? The sound that haunts me isn't the laughter you'd expect. It's the heavy, industrial click of a deadbolt sliding into place behind me. That distinct, metallic finality that separates the public world from a private hell. It was October 2016. The news cycle was choking on the killer clown hysteria. I was 16, barely paying attention to the panic. I thought I knew the difference between an internet hoax and real danger. I was wrong. It was a Wednesday evening. When I swiped into the subway system, the air felt heavy, recycled too many times. My phone battery was hovering at 8%, just enough to keep my music playing, drowning out the screech of the wheels against the track. The car was nearly empty. When the automated voice announced my stop, I stood up. The lights flickered in that rhythmic, strobing way they do when the voltage drops. I stepped onto the platform. The doors hissed shut behind me, and the train pulled away, taking the noise and the wind with it. Silence rushed in, to fill the void. The platform was deserted. The fluorescent tubes overhead were buzzing, a low-frequency hum that made my teeth ache. I walked toward the main turnstiles, my sneakers squeaking on the grime-coated tiles. That's when I saw the gate. The heavy iron accordion gate was drawn shut, padlocked. "Hey!" a voice echoed from the shadows. A man stepped out. He looked normal. He was wearing the standard high-visibility orange vest. He looked like every transit worker I'd ever ignored. "Exit's closed," he said, his voice flat, professional. "Structural issue on the stairs. We're routing everyone through the South Service Tunnel." He pointed toward a steel door. "It opens out to the street level. I'm heading up there to lock it down now. You can walk with me." He didn't wait for an answer. My instincts were quiet. He was an authority figure, so I followed him. The air inside changed instantly. It was colder. It smelled of stagnant water, copper, and something sharp, like bleach masking a rot. "Is it far?" I asked. "Just up ahead," he said. He was walking behind me now. Red flag number 1. Professionals lead. Predators herd. I quickened my pace. "I think I hear traffic," I lied. It was dead silent down there. "No, you don't," he murmured. The professional tone was slipping. The corridor didn't go up. It slanted downward, deeper underground. "Excuse me," I said, turning around. "This is going down. The street is up." He stopped 3 feet away. In the dim light, his face looked different. His eyes were wide, fixated on my face. His hands were twitching. "It loops around," he said. But he wasn't looking at the path. He was looking at my mouth. Red flag number 2. His radio. It hadn't made a sound. I looked down. The radio didn't have a battery pack. It was a hollow shell. "I'm going to go back," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You can't go back," he said softly. I locked the door. He reached into his pocket. Instead of a weapon, he pulled out a mask. A clown mask. White skin, exaggerated red lips, blue diamonds over the eyes. He didn't put it on to scare me. He put it on calmly, methodically. He was flipping a switch in his brain that said, I wasn't a person anymore. "Please," I whispered. He rushed me. He slammed me against the concrete wall. The air left my lungs. His gloved hand clamped over my mouth, smelling of leather and old sweat. I flailed, my nails scratching against the rubber of the mask. The painted smile loomed inches from my face. He wasn't trying to kill me. Not yet. He was trying to zip-tie my wrists.
"Stop moving," he grunted, tightening his grip on my throat. I utilized that microsecond. I dropped my weight, driving my knee upward with every ounce of strength I possessed. He let out a sound that wasn't human. I didn't wait. I shoved him hard, and I ran. I hit the crash bar of the steel door with my shoulder. Locked. He really had locked it. "You stupid bitch," he hissed. I ran the other way, deeper into the dark. I scrambled up a ladder on the far wall. My hands slipped on the greasy rungs. He grabbed my ankle. I screamed, kicking wildly. My heel connected with the hard plastic of the mask. It cracked. I pulled my leg free, heaved the grate open, and clawed my way out onto the sidewalk. I collapsed on the pavement. People were walking by. They looked at me, and they kept walking. They didn't find him, but they found his room. Behind a false wall, they found a mattress, a bucket, a collection of driver's licenses, and a shelf lined with masks. The police told me I was lucky, but months later, I received a letter. No return address. Inside was a single photo. It was a picture of me, taken from a high angle, standing on the platform. I was wearing a coat I had thrown away 2 weeks before the attack. He hadn't just found me that night. He had been watching me. He had been waiting for the perfect night. They never caught him. And whenever I see a man in a high-visibility vest, I hold my breath, waiting to see if he reaches for a radio or a mask.